Hi, thanks for tuning in to another podcast from Two Travel Dads. I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Rob.
He is.
We were debating who was gonna intro
It was me
us.
this time,
Yeah,
but I'm not like a flashy intro
but it's so nice for us to share
podcaster.
responsibilities.
This is true.
Anyways, we are back today to talk. We've been talking a lot about Nova Scotia lately because it's a super cool destination that very few people from the United States go to visit, but it is remarkable in so many different ways. Everything from the food to the people just being hilarious and welcoming to the cool, beautiful, colorful sights
There's a lot of history there too.
and tons
Yeah.
of history. Nova Scotia is, they call it the cradle of Canada, which we talk about. If you pop back over to our episode about the Bay of Fundy, you can hear a little bit about that. But yeah, so we are wrapping up our first Nova Scotia series by talking about the South Shore. So this is going from Halifax, driving along the South Shore, what they call the Lighthouse route, and checking out some of the really beautiful, unique, very Nova Scotia sites along the way. So, what was your favorite spot?
I think it would have to be. It's hard. It's a toss up between Peggy's Cove and Lunenburg. So both were amazing, but in different ways. I really like Peggy's Cove just because it was beautiful, natural site. Compared to Lunenburg, which was, of course, it's beautiful, but it's old, historic, but buildings. So one was very natural. The other one was, more architectural style.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, clearly those are going to be my favorites also because both are just so picturesque. But I actually would say
Peggy's
that
Cove was really cool.
Peggy's Cove was really cool, but I think my favorite spot was actually Blue Rocks. When we go back, I would love
Oh,
to.
is that spot that I just found randomly when we were looking
That
for another
random,
spot?
like, yeah,
It was really cool out there.
I cannot wait to go back there.
Yeah. I think they had some kayaking options.
Yeah, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So we're going to start, as we talk about the South Shore of Nova Scotia, we're going to start in the Halifax area and then wrap up as far as we went. You can actually go all the way to Yarmouth, which is at the westernmost point of the Southern Cape. That's actually where you can catch the ferry from mainland, from the USA, if you want to take the boat to Nova Scotia. But we'll talk about that later. So, starting in the Halifax area, if you head south out of downtown, the first place that you actually are going to hit is called Duncan's Cove. And it's very similar to Peggy's Cove in that there is the Chebetco Lighthouse and then a really wonderful nature preserve with, lots of really beautiful exposed granite and limestone formations with tidal pools and low bush cranberries, everything that you're going to find in the Peggy's Cove area, but just a half an hour south of Halifax. So if you can't do the whole route that we're talking about, it's a great way to kind of get into nature and yet still be able to get right back into Halifax. But let's start at Peggy's Cove, since that is Chris's favorite spot. What do you want to share about Peggy's Cove? What made it so special for you? What did you think was so beautiful?
I think it was amazing to see all of the rocks and the foliage and everything around the area as you're approaching Peggy's Cove. Just beautiful colors for the time of year that we were there. And that was all just leading up to Peggy's Cove.
I
So
know that wasn't even
we
when
pulled
we got
over
there.
at many different spots, right, just to be able to check it out, which also got us into trouble because at the time that we went, it was unfortunate. We were stuck behind several touring buses. Sorry, not vans, buses.
Buses, motor coaches.
There were several motor coaches. So by the time that we got there, there was, hundreds of people.
So that's our first tip, is if you are going to be driving the South Shore out of Halifax, you want to make sure that you are leaving early enough that you can get to Peggy's Cove, which is the first stop on anybody's touring route. Get to Peggy's Cove before the motor coaches. And I say motor coach because a bus is a bus. Like the kids ride a school bus, right? A motor coach is a bus with a bathroom.
I think I saw like at least 8 or 10 of them in the parking lot when we
Yeah.
got to Peggy's Cove.
So picture a cruise coming into port and everybody hopping on motor coaches and starting to explore their very first stop and their very first taste of Nova Scotia is going to be the Peggy's Cove
Yeah.
area. So if you can start your day early enough to beat the cruise guests, you will get some amazing pictures, and you'll also get a very quiet experience, which
Yeah.
is really special.
We still got amazing pictures. I mean, it's
Yeah.
beautiful out there. There's a wonderful White House, lighthouse. Um,
The
no White
lighthouse
House
was
in there.
white
It was white. It was a white lighthouse.
and
But
red.
it's more about the rocks that are so softened by the battering of the waves over time. So you could really get out there and walk along all of the rocks
Yeah.
and and get some really good views.
And both directly there at Peggy's Cove, where the lighthouse is, there's a little visitor center and stuff. But there's lots of rock outcroppings around the fishing village because that's the other side. That's what makes Peggy's Cove an actual village to visit is the fishing industry that's there. It's all very, I don't know if you would call it boutique fishing industry because I feel like that's kind of bougie, but it's very small scale with individual fishermen having their own fishing boats and just operating out of this tiny little cove town where we saw there was at least one active lobster truck right there where you could walk up and grab your lobster roll or just your tail of lobster to peel while you were walking around the tiny town. But being there in the off season, we didn't see it at its full peak, but you could tell that it's a fishing village at heart and a tourist destination second, which I think made it pretty cool.
Yeah, and we unfortunately we didn't get to stay there long. I mean, it was really windy and
I'll be
cold that
honest, we
day.
were trying to also beat the motor coaches out of there.
We were trying to beat the motor coaches out because we didn't want to get stuck behind all of them. Plus, it was really cold that day, and we were bundled up as best as we could be. But it was still freezing, but beautiful. So we tried to get as much of it in as we could. But I think the best part was when we had left, not because we were leaving, but because on our way out, you could start
Oh,
to
that's
still see
right.
the lighthouse on the left, but we saw eagles.
Hmm.
One, I think that was actually eating like a fish or something it had
Yeah,
caught, like right there. But we had to pull over and bust out the camera and get some amazing shots
and
of
and
eagles so close up.
yeah,
They
and
were
where
so beautiful.
where we stopped, there was a nice grouping of like shorebirds, as well as bald eagles eating fish. There was all the beautiful fall foliage of the low bush cranberry and everything that goes all the way up to where the water crashes, and then some tide pools too. So the kids were like, "Sweet, let's explore." But yeah, gosh, Peggy's Cove from every angle is gorgeous. So another thing, I mean, that's 45 minutes, maybe an hour outside of Halifax. So if you don't have a ton of time, you can at least visit there, easy. So the next stop along the way was actually this little town that we discovered from across the bay called. Is it called Mahone Bay or Mahoney Bay?
Potato,
Mahone,
potato. I don't know. I'd have to ask a Canadian, which we didn't do.
but it's spelled Mahone.
If it were in Hawaii, I would call it Mahoney Bay.
I would agree, but it's as far from Hawaii as you can get.
Yep. So maybe it's
So,
Mahone Bay.
so yeah, Mahone Bay, whatever. Um, Gorgeous. So our first view of it was on our drive into the town of Lunenburg, and it was you could not make a more picture perfect
You just wanted to
village.
get out the car and go through every shop.
Yeah, it was adorable. Again, so we talked about this when we were talking about the Bay of Fundy. White chapels and colorful buildings. That is what Mahoney Bay is. And within the town itself, you've got your galleries, you've got your cute restaurants. That we saw quite a few B&Bs, bed and breakfasts that, gosh, had we a little more time, it would have been wonderful to spend at least one night there and just be able to wake up and walk the town first thing in the morning and find Nova Scotian coffee, which is pretty much the same as any other coffee, I imagine.
Well, it all depends
I don't know.
on
But
how it's brewed.
yeah, so that's Mahoney Bay. What did we decide? We said Mahone Bay.
Mahone Bay, sure.
Anyways, great stop. It's pretty. Grab a bite to eat.
Yeah.
And then you can move on to Lunenburg, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So the whole town is protected. As you drive in, you'll see all kinds of sounds. You see all kinds of signs for some other different farm attractions, including you pick cranberries and you pick blueberry farms, which that's something we actually got here in Washington. We have a lot of you pick, especially cranberries and blueberries. Check it out over on our other blog, which is Travel Olympic Peninsula. Just wrote about cranberry farms down in the Long Beach area of Washington. But we're talking about Nova Scotia right now. So there's quite a few options there if you are interested in exploring that a little bit deeper, because that's a part of the culture up there. But then you arrive in Lunenburg, which, how would you describe it? Like, I would describe it that it's like a big version of Paulsbo, which is
I know
where we
people don't know
live.
Paulsbo.
I know. We live
But
in a little Scandinavian village area.
it is a little Scandinavian village area, just right on the water too, with the beautiful marina. But I think it's what makes it really beautiful is that, well, one, it's on the marina, but two, all of the buildings are all unique and painted with vibrant colors, and the town is full of unique shops and restaurants and galleries, and it's completely walkable and just fun to explore.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and being a couple hundred years old at its oldest buildings, it is really well preserved. It has wintered a gazillion winters so well, and you can tell that everybody who lives there loves it very much so, and the restaurants are just wonderful. Oh, gosh, what was the name of that place that we ate? The salt something rather.
I was just gonna say, I think it's
Yeah.
the salt something.
Yeah, you can look
Um,
it up. But the restaurants, we ate a couple spots in Lunenburg.
oh well, Salt Shaker Deli.
Salt Shaker Deli. Is that what it was?
I think so.
No, it was something else. Either way, the lobster culture that we experienced up on the Bay of Fundy side was also very present on the South Shore.
I'm very confident that it's the Salt Shaker Deli.
Okay,
It also
whatever.
might be the Salt Shaker Deli and Inn. And they had a delicious lobster roll. And I think you had a Stinky Pete. Is that
Yeah,
what it was
I
called?
did. I
And
had the most garlic covered
it was so delicious.
flatbread pizza I've ever had in my entire life. So, something wonderful about cold environments is they grow amazingly strong garlic. So, if you can get garlic based foods while you are in Nova Scotia, you should.
Oh, it was awesome. And then they had really good cocktails too.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah,
We should have a cocktail podcast.
we should. But I will say before we got to the Salt Shaker Deli, because it was really busy when we were there. So each place, because I think we stopped at a different place. I can't remember the name of it, but we stopped at a different place too, and the lines were long,
Yeah.
so huge wait times. But while we were waiting for that, we also went to another spot just right before the Salt Shaker Deli to have a beer, because we do enjoy a good brewery. And there was one actually just right in Lunenburg called the Shipwright Brewing Company. And
Shipwright was really cool. It was so
Shipwright.
small.
It was tiny. And not only did they have beer, I mean, of course, we have the two boys with us, so they also have their own root beer. So the boys were able to have a nice root beer out of the tap.
Actually, the root beer, even though it was on tap, that was from Propeller Brewing
Oh,
in
Propeller?
Halifax. Propeller was everywhere.
It
It's
was-
like
it was
the
really good
Nova
beer,
Scotia
though.
beer. Yeah, I love the Propeller IPA that we kept on finding.
Yeah.
But Shipwright on its own made some wonderful small batch beers and coolest little beer bar. Loved it.
Yeah, it
The kids
seats
loved it
like,
too.
I mean, it's tiny. I think it just has a bar and might sit like maybe 10 people inside.
I would say it seats 6 because we were 4 of us and I think there was only 2 remaining stools.
Okay. Before it could stand someplace.
Yeah. Well, okay, so 4 could stand. So it's a great spot. That's the
Yeah.
moral of the story.
And then, but then after having a beer, and then we went to Salt Box and had a really delicious lunch. Then we just kind of walked around the area.
Yeah, and so I'm not a window shopper. I don't think we need to bring home souvenirs from everywhere we go. But we actually took time to window shop in Lunenburg because they were different. They were nautical and they were very clearly like proud Nova Scotian shops. And, a great thing that we sometimes bring back are Christmas ornaments. And we actually found some there that we liked. We found lobsters.
Yeah,
and-
I think they were locally made,
yeah. Yeah, they were made there in Lunenburg in the little pottery shop. And yeah, the kids got to
Hand-painted.
pick out theirs, and it was great because that's one of the best ways to also kind of find out what the vibe of a town is like is to talk to the shopkeepers. And you can tell when they're excited to talk to you or when they are tired of tourists. And the people in Lunenburg were not tired of tourists. They were so excited to share their town, and just chit chat,
An
which
upsell chowder.
and upsell chowder. Oh my gosh, yeah, we got lots of recommendations.
Yeah. Well, I love a good clam chowder. So they were totally upselling the seafood chowder in the different places to go check it out.
Yeah, but
We
you
had
know,
already eaten, so we didn't
yeah,
get to
and
do
you
it.
can
But
only eat so much chowder and heavy cream-based fish soup.
I disagree. And maybe in a future episode, we'll talk about the mini chowders that I had at a different trip in St. Augustine, Florida, which were amazing. But that's another cliffhanger for a future time.
Yeah, gosh, you do love your chowder. That's true.
Yeah.
Good times. But moving on from Lunenburg, there's actually a lot to do there. That's actually one of the few places in Nova Scotia where you can get whale watching tours into the fall months. So whale watching season is usually in the summer, but they do continue it into October on demand on the weekends. So if you want to check out the northern white whales when they're coming through, as well as humpbacks and other small whale varieties, you can book that out of Lunenburg. So check the show notes for a couple different links for some references on that, and that way you can plan that. Because gosh, whales are awesome, and to this day, the right whale is one of my bucket list animals to see. I've never gotten to see one, so our next trip to Nova Scotia, we are going to make sure that we do. It's my goal. What? I wanted to do that. We went by the booth and he wasn't there.
No. I was just watching you tap the lid to your water bottle.
Because I got excited about right whales. They're
Mm-hmm.
so cool. So as you head out of Lunenburg and continuing on your Lighthouse road trip, the next stop that is kind of random is a place called Felton South. Unless you know to look for it, you will probably pass it. Felton South was actually kind of a bonus for us. We were trying to go to Ovens Nature Park, it's a private property. They're just
Oh, that's the private property I was
That's the
talking
private
about.
property we were talking about when we were talking about the Bay of Fundy. It's a private park, and they've got camping and day use and stuff. But they've got
Seasonal.
yeah, it's so Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia very much operates on its seasonal schedule from May through the beginning of October, and not a day later. So just know that some things might be closed when you think they're going to be open. But Ovens Nature Park has the Thunder Cave, and it's got tide pools and hiking. It's pretty nifty, but since it was closed when we went there, we happened to across Felton South, which is not even a village. It's an idea. But it has a marina and a beach. And while we were there were just beautiful, colorful boats lined up waiting for fishermen. And we happened to get a rainbow while we were hanging out at the beach, which was super special. And it kind of captured that whole feeling of Nova Scotia and its colorful, kind of magical maritime nature. And I'll be honest, I was really frustrated when our itinerary that I worked hard on wasn't playing out. And spending an hour at Felton South and just enjoying it, it changed my attitude, and I was very happy.
Well, it's, again, a spot where you can take some amazing pictures. And what was across the water from us? Was that Lunenburg or was that Mahoney? I
No,
can't
so
remember. What was across the water?
why, that was a perfect transition to our next talking point. Across the water from Felton South is the even more adorable little town of Blue Rocks. So it's, I believe, how it was billed was Lunenburg's version of Peggy's Cove or something like that. It's actually another tiny little fishing cove village where there's actually you can actually stay at the lighthouse there. The lighthouse was built in 1871. It's adorable. It is white and teal, unless they paint it. And you can stay there. So there's some really cool and unique Nova Scotia lodging options there. But I think the real gem of that place was actually it's kayaking in the coves. So, gosh, the cove. Try. I always try to think about ways that I can describe and relate different spots, because when you're doing a podcast, you can't really give somebody a visual right off the bat. Um, how would you describe Blue Rocks? Blue Rocks it's sleepy, it is adorable. Think of oversized tide pools that you can kayak through. Think of lobster pots just being stacked or
And just like
abandoned.
shack buildings kind of everywhere that are
Yeah.
different colors. Very, very
Like
sleepy.
overwater fishing shacks. Yeah.
Again, I still kind of think it's like kind of like a Popeye-ish place. But
When he says Popeye-ish place, what you need to do is you need to find the Popeye movie from the 80s with Robin Williams and
exactly,
what's
that's
her
the type of
face?
place I'm talking about. Shelley Duvall.
Shelley
Uh,
Duvall.
but but no, it was very sleek. It was just really beautiful. But those rocks were really blue, and I can't remember the exact reason
They're
why.
shale
Shale.
because they're
Yeah,
shale.
that's right.
So shale, I believe,
Say that
comes
10
from
times fast.
limestone, maybe? Shale. That sounds ridiculous. Yeah, no, the shale rocks, they really do make it blue. And then as the tide comes in, the type of kelp and seaweed that grows in the coves is kind of like a luminescent chartreuse with red. It is just, it's beautiful. There's kind of nobody around. You can rent kayaks or go on guided tours. Um,
Well, I
it's,
think that's the thing that I liked is again sleepy, so it wasn't packed full of tourists. So Peggy's Cove was amazing because it's super beautiful. Oh my gosh, I mean
yeah.
we talked about 10 different motor coaches, so those fit like what, 50 people maybe.
And I don't
I
think
feel like
I don't think a bus or a motor coach or even a
it could
tour
it
van
couldn't
could
get
have
there.
fit where
No.
we were at Blue
Mm-mm.
Rocks. It was so tiny. But definitely, like if you were making like a little bucket list of the different places to go along the Nova Scotia shore, on the South Shore, Blue Rocks has got to be at the top of that list because it was beautiful and the perfect quiet destination. So, do you have any other thoughts about touring the South Shore or any other Nova Scotia highlights that we didn't catch in any of these? This is our third episode that we've recorded about Nova Scotia. We could talk about it all day, but
No, just you know, there's really good food there. So make a plan. You can use, some of the recommendations that we provided over time, but take a look and see what's out there. But I would highly recommend going to Halls Harbor. Was that the previous episode?
Halls Harbor, we talked about that in the Bay of
Sorry,
Fundy
that's what I
episode.
think about all the time. But also the lobster roll from the Salt Shaker
Uh-huh.
Deli was amazing.
So, what is it that when you are planning? So, when we go on trips, me, Rob, I plan like our activities, like photo spots, things like that. And then Chris's job is research,
Food.
yeah, food and researching hashtags and stuff that help kind of guide our trip. So with food, what is it? How do you find the places that you have us go?
Oh, me?
Because usually you do awesome finding unique spots and
Well, I eliminate all chains first because
yep.
that's just not an option.
Yep.
And then I don't do $4 sign menus. So I use Yelp, by the way, and I'll also go to Google, and I look at those that have quite a bit of reviews, but not too many. And then I'll look at the pictures that people have posted.
When you say quite a bit of reviews but not too many, like where's your sweet spot for numbers?
Well, I guess there's not really I think the sweet spot would be like maybe over 100. Um,
Oh wow,
And
that
then
many.
on up, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it all depends too. I mean, I have to look at the food too, because sometimes you can have like a few that review, but it's not enough to give you a true picture, and it's hard when you're an outsider, coming into a new place. But I'll look at what I really try to look at are the pictures that people are posting, and if the pictures look like something that's like your standard fare, that's like I can tell this is Cisco food, meaning like just out of a package and not freshly prepared, then I'm less inclined to go to those locations versus those that I can see. It's like, oh, you actually leverage like r- fresh fruits and vegetables and meats and
So you can look at pictures
prepared
for
everything
sure, but
yourself.
are you also like, do you use any like keywords when you search? Like, do you type like
Oh,
farm to table or
oh,
fisherman's or
not at
like?
all.
No, you just go
No,
with.
no,
Okay.
no. I have to look at. No, that's too much. I have to go to the location.
This
So
is why
in
I don't
Yelp
pick
or in
restaurants.
Google, I will say, okay, here's where I am, and then give me locations around me because that's where I'm gonna travel. Is like around me, and then based off what's around me, then I'll filter it to like in Yelp. I'll be like, okay, give me $2 or $3 signs. I don't want $1 sign. I don't want $4 sign. Give me in the middle, and then from there, I'll look and see what's closest to me, and then I'll start just like looking at the pictures because people post a ton of pictures. I look at the pictures, and then I also want to see what's on the menu. then I'll see like, okay, what's on the menu, and then how are people reviewing it. So I want to see good reviews. I want to see nice pictures of food, and I want the food to be something that's very original, that they're creating within the restaurant, not just opening up packages of things that are shipped from a food supplier and put on a plate.
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned that a couple times, packages. That's something that if you are not a big traveler and you're just really trying to get out and branch out, you might not realize how often like restaurants, particularly in the United States, who either leverage Cisco or Food Services of America, how much they will
Yeah.
use pre-designed meals and
Well, I
stuff.
used to work in restaurants a
Yeah.
long time ago, right? So I know what you can get from Cisco, which is fine if you get like your fruits and vegetables and things like
Yeah.
that. But if you're getting your sauces and your bases and your soups and all that stuff pre-made from Cisco, that doesn't highlight your capabilities
Or the culture of the
or
area
the
that you're
culture of
working
the
in.
area,
Yeah.
right? As a restaurant.
So
So when you can see that things are really authentically made and very local, that's exciting.
I think that's what was so great about all the different places you found for us in Nova Scotia. Whether that was,
That was so much fun looking for
yeah,
food in Nova Scotia. I had so much fun. I had the whole entire thing planned out and I was excited for every
yeah,
single
you did
spot.
good.
We went everything all across. So this is the last episode, but from Nova Scotia, we had vegetarian, we had vegan, we had seafood, we had meat. I mean, it was all across the board and all delicious.
Yeah, we had downtown. We had tiny little like walk up randomness. We had gift shop food. We had, yeah,
Hmm.
it was delicious. So, well,
Great food scene there.
yeah, that's gonna wrap up everything we have to share about Nova Scotia right now. We for sure want to go back during the summer. We want to check out Cape Breton and even venture up into New Brunswick from the Nova Scotia side. There's so much more to see, so much more to conquer, and if you have any
So
questions,
much more food to eat.
so much more food to eat. Clearly, one of us is on that page. If you have any questions about anything, feel free. Leave us a comment on the blog. Leave us a comment on the podcast. Leave us a review. And feel free to email us at any time through the website. We are happy to help. Have a great day. And thanks for listening to Two Travel Dads. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys.
Two Travel Dads podcast is written by Rob and Chris Taylor and produced by Rob Taylor in Suquamish, Washington. If you would like to be a guest on the Two Travel Dads podcast or would like to sponsor it, go ahead and visit us at bit.ly/2tdwork.